Hey, what's up, friends, family, and colleagues? I have Dr. Felipe Lopez Sustaita here. With us, we're going to be talking about his amazing book that just dropped like about a year and like a couple months, Felipe. You Can't Run From Your Destiny. And it's an amazing book. One of the biggest things, Felipe, that I got from your book was about faith. And I take it to heart because I think it set me into a great path of being positive about everything that happens in my life and what comes in my life. So if you haven't checked out the book, we're going to be discussing a little bit about it. So Felipe, do you want to talk about like the dates, how the book got started and your accomplishments that you've had in your life?
Absolutely. First of all, Rafa, and everybody, that's watching your channel and the stuff that you put out, very happy to be here. Just got back from Mexico. As you know, I drove across the country just to be with this man. I respect him so much. So the book, it took about, 10 to 15 years, right? So I started off early, right? Just writing about some of my experiences. It's raw. So if anybody's expecting like a super educational, no flaws, this is not what you want. Like, this is very raw. It probably needs more editing, but it wasn't about that. It was about putting it out there, right? I think God put it in me to tell the story, to help other people that are struggling or going through things. And so that's really what it's about. One of my mentors of like 15 years reached out to me and gave me a wonderful idea. And, I'm going to be working on it. Rafa, like he thinks that, it should be going to a lot more people, and I'm kind of dimming my own light. And so maybe doing some more stories and editing and doing a second version, paying somebody, it might be like 50,000, but I think it's worth it, to put it out to more people, to more schools, more children, communities that need it. And so that's kind of what I'm working on, right? But if you have a chance, check it out, reach out to me on my social media. I'm happy to give you a copy, or you buy a copy, whatever. But again, it was designed and created to give information. And again, it's a very sad, cause I'm very raw about everything that happened, right? And about spiritually, how God has been so good to me. And even in the darkest of times, He's never let me be alone. So, that's kind of, I'm so happy that that's a message you got.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we're struggling, right? And it's tough. And so it's kind of a resource to get through. And so I was very happy with Ralph when he reached out to me about, on Instagram, I think, right?
Yes, sir.
And right away I connected with you, and now we've been talking for, over a year, and we continue to kind of iron sharpens iron kind of idea, and we help each other, right? We were just talking about business and generational wealth and all that.
Yeah. So Felipe, you mentioned about struggles, and I think 3 of my friends that I've given the book to reached out and said that they related and connected, and they weren't migrant workers. 2 of them weren't migrant workers, and they related to the book of all the struggles. So I think you mentioned like a struggle is a struggle. Like, how does that make you feel? Like no matter where like they're from or what ethnicity background they got, they can relate to your story. Like, how does that make you feel?
It's incredible. I got a message from somebody from Africa, reaching out, and other countries as well. And struggles are struggles, right? Regardless if you're a migrant worker or you're not. I think, we're always going to have barriers, right? And it's how are you going to take them, right? And Ralph mentioned something earlier about, embracing even the darkest times. It's gratitude, having gratitude and not focusing on the bad things. And, but it makes me feel really happy, man, that, a struggle is a struggle, right? And how we manage to navigate it is important.
Yeah.
So, but life is not easy. There's no playbook, right? On how to follow or figure it out. Parenthood, when I write my next one, there's a lot more challenges. It gets harder. It
Yeah.
doesn't get easier.
So you just mentioned parenthood. So you got 4 boys and they're black belts just like you. Like, how does that make you feel like that you set the bar high for them already. So like, how does that make you feel like your boys are already following your footsteps through life? Like, is it challenging? Like it's, like you said, like, is it challenging having like them like follow your path, your righteous path to like the bar you've set already? Or
yeah, and that's an amazing thing. So for anybody listening, like I always tell people that my parents' ceiling was my floor, and my ceiling is gonna be their floor, right? So you want to make sure that you go to the galaxy, right, as high as you can. And but it's a wonderful feeling that they don't have to, because people ask me. I think I was at Grand Valley State University, and somebody asked me a question: do you feel bad that your kids don't have the same experience, so that they're not mentally as tough as you? And I told them, I said, no, like my kids have to go through their own struggles, right? So my kids play sports. I have 4 of them, and I can see them going to the major leagues if they choose to. They're physically, they have the opportunities that I didn't, right? I'm able to send them to camps. I'm able to give them opportunities, right? We go and compete in different states, and I always tell them, I said, you guys are brown, you guys are Latinos, and you're going to experience sometimes racism. And the way you handle it is going to be as important. So you got to work 3 or 4 times harder. Yeah. So the lessons are there, I think, for any of us, regardless if we're migrant or not. Like my kids aren't migrant workers, but it's no different than me working, in the fields and being mistreated, or being in a game and being mistreated, right? Yeah. It's just the lessons are there. And so that's kind of what I've been teaching my boys. And, the sky's the limit, man. Yeah. It's exciting because all the hard work, all the struggle, all the pain, all the sacrifice, you see it paying off, in such a short period of time.
Yeah, it's awesome. And not your kids are migrant workers, but I've seen videos and pictures that you post that you take into the fields and give them that experience, at least that they know that it's hard work, even if they do it for a couple minutes or so, like they know like the work that has to go into that. So that's awesome, Felipe. So I think around the same time that you dropped the book, right, about a year and some months, you got the key to Donna, the city of Donna.
The key to the city of Donna.
City of Donna. So how was your mother was there, right? Present?
Yes.
How does that make you feel that your mom was like there present, like you receiving a huge award that's given to an individual in the city? So
that was very amazing. I think it was a highlight for my mom. My mom was telling everybody I got the key to the state, right? And it's like, no, Mom, just Donna, right? But it was a huge accomplishment because we're immigrants, right? We came to this country in search of a better life, and my mother, never in her wildest dreams, right, that we'd be in City Hall getting awarded, this prestigious award. That very few people, I don't even know that many people in any city, right? I mean, sometimes you hear of like Bad Bunny or somebody getting a key to San Juan or something, but it's pretty remarkable, man, because they don't just give those away, right? Yeah. And having my mom there, my sisters, my nephews, my kids was remarkable. And I think it was last year around this time that I got it, about June, July. Yeah. So.
So not just that, do you want to mention, I don't know if you guys don't know Dr. Felipe Lopez Sustaita, he's gotten several awards. So you got also an award, or got recognized at the Detroit Lions Stadium.
Oh yeah, Detroit Lions.
How was that? How did that make you feel? Like,
that was really cool. We got 20 tickets to the stadium. I could take anybody, and then I got to actually go into the football stadium and meet some of the players. But so I just want to let everybody know that sometimes you're receiving the blessing is for somebody else, right? So my father-in-law has been a fan his entire life. He served in the Marines, everything. Diehard Lions, win, lose, or draw, just kind of like me and the Cowboys. regardless of how it's going. And seeing him with me, right, being able to give him they gave me 2 passes to go in the field, like, was the most rewarding. For me, it wasn't really about the award. It was about seeing him. So sometimes people get blessed through you, right? And that's what I got that day, was that my father-in-law got to be Herman Moore. He saw all these players that I didn't even know. I knew some of them, but not everybody. But he was receiving the blessing, right? But it was through me. And because I had no clue why would anybody give me an award. And you're in the Megatron, everything. There's a ton of people, a full stadium, and you're talking, right, and everything. And it was just surreal. But I was more proud of that moment of him going down there, and being there with me and on the sideline.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but it's, again, man, sometimes it might appear that the blessing's going to you, but it's really for somebody else.
Yeah.
And that to me is more rewarding. When you give, is more rewarding than sometimes receiving, right? Because the award is somewhere there, but the memory of that happening is priceless to me, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah. So you mentioned right now how sometimes you said, like, you think the blessing's coming to you, but it's actually like through you. So how does that make you feel, like, how does, like, knowing that all that hard work is just not for you, but it's for your community? Because most of the stuff you try to inspire is for the community, for the Hispanic community, the migrant community. How does that make you feel that, like, the hard work that you're doing isn't going unnoticed?
Yeah. So the beautiful part, so I just got back I was in Belize, Guatemala, and Mexico, right? And I like to talk to people that are struggling, like the most humblest. Because there's a lot of wealthy people, right? When you stay in nice places and stuff, but then you see the workers, and they're building somebody else's dream, and then they're struggling. I've been there, right? As a migrant worker, like, you're working your ass off, 16 hours, and you barely have enough to eat, right? You're planting the trees, and they're eating the fruit. And so I know when I go to other countries and I'm talking to the people that the struggle is real. And to be able to, like, give them $20 and I told my wife, I said, man, we're in a country where there's money printed all the time. You make it. And I like to give it, right? Like, so I would meet people, talk to them, like our driver or whoever. And you know, it's such a blessing and such a good feeling to be like, here, like, you know, $20 or $15-20 tip or whatever. And for them, it's like 3 times that, right? It's more than what they make in a day. And it's such a blessing, man, to be able, and to hear their stories.
Yeah.
And to sometimes give them books.
Yeah.
Right? Like, here's a book, like, you know, that makes me really happy, man, because I know what it's like to be at the bottom, right? At the bottom of the bottom. And then I never forget where I come from. So when I travel, that's a highlight to me. Like, you take a stack of money and then you just give it,
yeah.
Right? Give it to the people, and God will lead you to the people that need it, right? And they will tell you, they're like, oh my God, it's like a blessing. It's like God came and gave, you know, he heard you. And that's the best feeling, man. More than, like, I don't even buy stuff. Like, I think I bought, like, little souvenirs for my kids, like a little rosario or whatever. Yeah. Just simple, but it's more about giving than anything, than material.
Yeah. That's awesome, Felipe. So going back to the struggles, like, how was like your childhood struggles through high school, college, your master's, and then your doctorate? Was like, what were, like, some of, like, the highlight struggles that you went through?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of struggles, right? When you're moving around, being put in special ed, I think, was really hard. I couldn't read, and some of you could relate when they make you read out loud. I couldn't read, so there was a lot of things. I think, probably slow in one language, but they didn't realize that being bilingual is a great asset. But, you know, I was put in special ed, and then I couldn't really read or write throughout my because we were always moving. So when I went to college, I graduated early. I was 16 years old, and but I couldn't do anything else, right? I was so smart, outsmarting the system. That's why I got to graduate early. And, but going to MSU was hard. Not being able to read and then pour, right, with 2 trash bags and showing up in a Big Ten university was really difficult. It's like David versus Goliath, right? A slingshot and 6 rocks against a giant that's fully loaded, right? And that's kind of how I felt. Or I felt like Benaiah. It's a Bible verse, lion chaser. That's why my company, I have a company named Lion Chasers, because Benaiah jumped into a pit with a lion and killed it. It was a 500-pound lion. And he made a choice whether that lion's going to eat me or I'm going to jump in. He jumped in, and that made him, like a superhero. He went on to become David's bodyguard and then the general of Israel. Mm-hmm. And I relate with that because that's how I felt. Like I went into MSU and I jumped into a pit and I had to kill the lion, right? Yeah. And so that whole struggle, and then it's not just that perfect clear. Like my dad died, right? And that elevated, like even though it was something terrible, it allowed me to get a doctorate degree, right? But the whole thing was hard, man. Yeah. Jobs, getting passed over like 300 times, right? Not getting an interview after you graduate, having to go and get a $10 job with a master's degree or going to pick apples. Like nobody celebrates that, right? But that's part of the story. And, so anybody listening, you have to embrace even the struggle, man. Like you gotta just embrace it. I mean, that's the things that I remember. It's not making 100 and some thousand. Like that's not what's important. It's, when I couldn't pay rent and I had to go and pick apples.
The journey.
And people were criticizing, like, what is this guy doing? He went to get a master's and now he's picking apples just like us. Yeah. And having to close your ears and say, I can't listen to that. I just have to keep grinding, right? keep going. Yeah.
You just brought it up. I believe you mentioned in the book, and I've heard you say it in a couple of your speeches that you've given out, when tough times come, like go back to what you know best. Yeah. You said you couldn't find a job, so you went back to what you know best, which was working in the fields. I think that's a great story, because sometimes it's like life comes at you really hard. Yeah. Or like they fire you and you're like stuck in a position where like, what do I do now? Or you graduate and you're like, what do I do now? And like life's like puts you like on limbo kind of situation. Yeah. And it's true. Sometimes you go back to what you know, and you just talked about it. Like you go back to what you know, as far as like working at a grocery store or, starting your own side business to make a quick buck so you can get back on your feet, or until you get another job. And that's awesome, Felipe. So like, do you think that journey that you went through, like, helped you become the person you are now? Yeah. As far as like writing the book and everything else going on in your life right now?
Yeah. God gave you what you need, right? He wired you perfectly, right? Sometimes people are like, oh, I want to make money and do this. You are the money making machine. Like you have everything. You have the ideas. You're sitting on them, and you're just that, right? And that's what I've been realizing, right? Like for so many years, I've been building other people's dreams, and I'm just like, it's time to like buy my own property, build my own table, bring my own chairs, invite who I want to invite, instead of just, asking like, hey, can I jump in or whatever? No. But yeah, it taught me, man, like, even now I feel like so loose. Like if I get fired or they don't need me anymore, like I'm not worried, because I know how to make money, right? Yeah. Whether it's a fields or whether it's speaking or whether it's writing another book or a children's book. Yeah. Mentoring. Or coaching or whatever, right? You are the money making machine, so you shouldn't worry about pleasing other people or trying to be something that you're not. Just be who you are. Refine whatever that is, right? If it's business, it might be something that you don't even think about, right? Yeah. But it's there in front of you, and you just gotta go and get it. Take a risk, take a shot, and things will pay off.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's one of the great things that like I took away from the book too. Like just taking a step back and visualizing or picturing you. And it's something you mentioned to me over a year ago too, is start a vision board. And to be honest, once you have that vision board, I feel like everything just starts like happening like in motion as soon as you like envision it or write it down and keep picturing that vision or dream that you have it set in your mind already. So I think that was a great part of your book too, Felipe. Another great thing from your book, Felipe, was, or not just your book, I feel like, well, I got it from your book, and I think that's when I started reading more about like people that are very successful in life, and you put the story about how you met your wife and stuff like that. How does that make you feel, that having like your wife behind like everything, all your hard work, that like you have somebody that's there to like support you?
Yeah, no, it's, you know, I've traveled all over the world, but I've never traveled with my wife. This was the first time. We have kids, right? So it's really hard. And I've always roughed it out, just sleeping in trains and hostels, in airports. But this time we went, you know, we had an amazing vacation. It was the best one ever, right? Because I was with my wife, and I was able to experience it with her. And best ever, man. So to have somebody that you love and care for and to be able to share it with is the best, you know, best thing ever. And so it's a first of many to come, right? And you just have to make up your mind. And like you said right now, Raf, when you have a vision board, the law of attraction, everything just happens. I think Conor McGregor, you know, they would laugh at him because he's like, I'm going to be a double champ and whatever, and become a millionaire. And he became everything he said, but it was because he kept saying it, repeating it. And you got to tell the world, right, what you're going to get and do. And then just keep doing it. People are going to laugh at you. They're going to, you know, experts aren't always right. Predictive analytics they don't work. They can't measure heart and obsession for something. And so just, that's what I would say. Just, and not only go as far as a vision board, but an appreciation board. Once they happen, you know, put it on the appreciation board so that you can look back. When you're having a bad day, you look at it and you're like, wow, okay, I have nothing to be sad about.
Yeah.
Right? I've accomplished so much. And so I rather, you know, people are always scared of dying. I rather, I think what I've done in 39 years, like I'm ready to go. Because what I've lived, some people haven't lived in 100 years. Yeah. So that's another thing. It's just, if tomorrow's your day, just go all out, man. Unload all the arrows. Just let it fly out. Don't keep anything. Don't hold back. Yeah. Take risk.
Yeah. So Felipe, I think we must stop talking about the book because I don't want to give it away, because I kind of touched base on everything. But I think the main thing that like I took to heart, and I really hope everybody does too, is faith. That really helped me. Like I mentioned in the beginning, like faith more into perspective of like letting things be and not holding grudges upon like the things or being mad about it. Just being appreciative of, like you said, the journey. The journey is always like what's in the back of your mind. Like, man, I conquered this and it got me this far. Like I just got to be moving forward. So like, apart from this, like writing this book, like how do you hold this book to your heart? Like what makes this book so special to you?
Yeah, you know, I think it's a promise, right, to my dad, really. That's how it all kind of was put together. It was a promise that I would do something, right? But God, it was like a love story to God too, right? Because He's the one that got me here, right? I didn't get here alone. I think people forget. Sometimes they make it and then they forget, right? Like, when I put the book out, actually Ralph reached out and, he actually got me started, right? Like he contacts some people. He didn't have to, right? And so I appreciate, right, that here you have somebody that doesn't even know you really well or anything, he believed so much. And then you contacted some people, and I got opportunities, and now more opportunities are happening, right?
Yeah.
And those things you don't forget, right? And I think you have to, stay humble and recognize, right, when people are helping you and pouring into you, like, because this is out of the ordinary even for me. I don't really do this, right? But I'm here with him and happy to be here,
Yeah.
right? Because you've gone out of your way to help me when you didn't have to, right? And so that's how things work.
No, well, I greatly appreciate like you sitting down with me and talking about your book, Felipe. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't gotten the book yet, You Can't Run From Your Destiny by Felipe Lopez Sustaita. It's on Amazon. And what other platforms do you have it on, Felipe? Yeah,
so it's on Amazon. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's LionChaser84. And I try to I'm going to be more intentional about putting more content out there. But again, I'm working on an awesome project with this book to make it expand it a little bit more so that it can reach more people. So stay tuned. Yeah, I'm getting some help.
Yeah. No, and the great thing about it, like he mentioned at the beginning, it's raw. So it's like I feel like having a raw version, Felipe, is just, it hits harder at home, where like you can feel the emotion more, like your thoughts, everything's just as it comes. So I feel like one can relate to it better,
and we'll have both, right? Like, I think that will continue to be for the people that want, something. And then the other one is to hit more of the schools, right? So that they can be used in classrooms and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
With guides and everything. So, but it's coming. And then I'm working on other stuff that,
on book 2, I suppose.
Book 2, children's book. So we're good. We're making some moves.
Awesome, Felipe. Yeah, well, thank you guys for watching, and make sure to follow Felipe for the new book coming out.